Hi everyone, Chris Johnson here with Money Morning, and today I'm going to share one of my AI sleeper stocks with you. This stock is up more than 200% over the last year, yet Wall Street has turned its back on it in terms of giving it buy recommendations. It is underappreciated and it is outperforming, which is always a combination for success on the long term. I'm going to introduce you to Palantir Technologies in just a moment, so let's jump into it. All right, I've already let the cat out of the bag in terms of what stock we're looking at. It's Palantir Technologies. The ticker symbol is PLTR. Now, over the last week or so, the company came out and provided their earnings results, which were in line with Wall Street expectations, but the stock traded up more than 20%. It goes to the exact reason why I look at the street's expectations in case of all stocks that I'm tracking. Keep us in mind, Nvidia trading at all-time highs, Microsoft the same, Amazon the same, yet Palantir is 40 to 50% below its all-time highs, and Wall Street isn't even paying attention to it. It means there's a big opportunity as the company is blossoming into its AI being, let's call it. Now, what does Palantir Technologies do? Well, they're known for working with governments, whether it's the United States, whether it's the UK, specifically in the area of defense. In some case, some things are very, very secret. And they got out into healthcare, especially during COVID-19. They did a lot of the tracking for governments. They get into big data, and they're using artificial intelligence to tear that data apart. Now they're going to be working towards getting into the private sector. This is part of that huge movement that's coming over the next couple of years. I always point out that 70% of the United States economy is based off of services. So when we look at that, let's talk about how big the AI sector is going to be in terms of services and revenue as we go from just building the foundation, which are the microchips, the computers, everything that builds AI or gives us the ability to actually applying it in the services industry. And that means companies like Microsoft, which is already showing that they're able to translate that into service, IBM, and others are ready to take off. Salesforce is another one, ticker CRM. Palantir is not counted among those, at least by Wall Street right now. And I think it's a huge mistake, but I love it because it's given me a great opportunity. Full disclosure, I am long Palantir shares myself, so I just want to make certain you know that. Now, let's take a look at the big mistake that I think is going on with Wall Street and how these situations usually play out. You've heard me talk a lot about expectations. I always want to know Wall Street's expectations, the street, investors like you and I, what we expect from a stock, because it's always good to follow the rule of find stocks where they've underpromised because it allows them to outperform. Nvidia right now, overpromised. Everybody's expecting the company to do well. Same with Microsoft. But in the case of Palantir, it is a huge situation where it is underpromised right now. If you look at this is the number that just blows me away. 21% of the Wall Street analysts right now have Palantir as a buy recommended stock. So 80%, 79% think that you should either hold it or sell it. And if you get into the numbers, 36%, so just over a third, think it's okay. You can hold it in your portfolio. And then 43%, almost 50% of the analysts tracking the stock think you should not pay attention to it. Now, last week, the company came out and they announced their earnings. Everything was in line. It was an okay report. There is a big difference, though. The CEO and the company's management came out and said, hey, we expect things to start taking off in terms of the private sector and AI over the next year or two. So they're now starting to use all of that knowledge and that experience that they've had working for governments and the government big data and actually using that in terms of AI. And they're looking to get into manufacturing, into retail, and healthcare, an area where they're already familiar with applying that. Now, when they made that announcement, the stock took off. I mean, it was a company that really started to perform just overnight. Keep in mind, and we'll do a little comparison here. Everybody knows Nvidia is up more than 200% over the last year. When you look at what Palantir has done, based on the analyst's recommendation of what they expect, you might say, hey, this stock's probably up 20% or so. No, it's up 210% over the last year. 209.18% if we're going to get exact about it. If you look at the last 6 months, it's up 61%. NVIDIA is up 70%, right? Year to date, the stock is up 43%. That puts it right at the same performance of NVIDIA. 97% of the analysts think you should be a buyer of NVIDIA. That is the power of those expectations. They've been telling us to buy it for the last year and a half, and that's what made it perform. Palantir is right now performing off of their face value. The analysts haven't even gotten in. Now, this is what happened after earnings, and this is why I love the stock is waking up right now. You can see we were trading around $17.50. And again, I've already pointed out I'm a holder of Palantir stock. I was well before the earnings hit. I also own Leap Options, a tool that I think you really need to look into and will help to educate you very soon here on the channel. But after that announcement, and the announcement was in line. They didn't surprise. They didn't beat on their earnings number. Their revenue was better than expected. The company came out and said they expect revenue to get better as they get into the private sector. That's why that stock shot up more than 20%, traded over 25% higher in the days following, and is now in the process of kind of cooling off. That cool off is going to last, and I think the market gets a little bit of a pullback on the stock here, as well as all the other big I names. And that's going to give you a buying opportunity here over the short term. But here's what you need to look at. Right now, this is the RSI. That's a number that tells you whether a stock is overbought or oversold. We're in that overbought territory. The next thing is all of this volume that's traded over the last week tells you that a lot of activity is coming on the buy side. Over the short term, that has to cool off, and it'll result in a little bit of a top here. Where does that take you? Down to $22 is right now my forecast for the stock. And as a holder, I am looking to increase my position. That's where I would be looking to do it, at $22. So if I don't have a position like so many of the Wall Street analysts, that's also the price I'd be thinking to buy this dip. Why? $22 is a round number. It's also the highs that we saw back in November for the stock before it kind of underperformed the rest of the market. Now, I mentioned the analyst community. They're very slow to move in terms of upgrades. So I always like to consider what the long-term chart is. And this is the huge potential right now for Palantir. What I did was I changed this from a daily chart to a monthly chart. And you can see the difference. Remember, Palantir has only been trading for a couple of years. It's still new, and that's one of the reasons why the analysts aren't on its track yet. They're not all buyers of the stock. They have been somewhat in the past, but they're obviously sitting on the sidelines. Look at where the stock trades right now, and this is right around that $25 level. The stock is traded as high as $46 in change. So we're still well off of those highs, 40 to 50%. That is the upside potential that I see for the stock right now. As we break above this $25 price level, and the analyst target price is below that, as we break above that and the trend starts to improve, you're going to see more and more analysts start to rethink their sell recommendations. And as I said, there are 43% of the analysts that are sells. 43%. That's huge. As they start to see the stock leave their sell recommendations behind, they'll upgrade. Now, when the earnings hit the tape, we saw two. And Bank of America was one, and I believe Citigroup was the other. They said, you know what, maybe we're going to think about where Palantir is going, and we're going to upgrade them from a sell to a hold, not going all the way to a buy. The next thing you're going to see are target prices that are going to move higher. Target prices are simply the price that Wall Street thinks that the stock is going to hit over the next year and a half or so. Right now, that's right in the mid-20s. I expect to see that actually the high target prices in the mid-20s. Most of the market is still down here in the teens. We're going to see that number start with a 3 over the next 6 months or so as Palantir continues to improve their outlook for their future as they get into the private sector work. This is, again, the services area of AI and where all of that money is going to start flowing. Palantir is going to be there. Now, as they start to give us that outlook and improve it. And one of the things that is amazing, the stock went up 25% after their last earnings call. You know what they did? They actually lowered their guidance. They looked forward and said, hey, we're not sure we're going to hit the market that's out there right now. So I've given the analogy. If you haven't seen it, you want to check out my video on NVIDIA. But the analogy of a student coming home and saying, I may only get a C, when indeed they're going to get a B or an A. That's exactly what Palantir just did. Told the market maybe they're going to get a C. If they come in next quarter with a B, the way they did this quarter, the market is going to open up and start upgrading the stock in terms of their outlook. And that is what's going to get you to a 30 price and above. There you've got it. Wall Street right now is behind in terms of their view on Palantir. And Palantir is happy with that. They're happy to let the expectations stay low so they can continue to outperform. That is going to equate into a price that begins with a 3 over the next 6 to 12 months in terms of Palantir. And that is a great opportunity, especially when I think it's going to hit $22 over the near term. Eventually, I think the stock catches up to its highs and then exceeds them. And again, on a long-term perspective, that is a 40 to 50% run from where it is now. Make certain that you don't miss this, at least on your watch list. Write down that $22 price target in terms of an area where you might want to consider a buy the dip on Palantir. That's it. Great AI sleeper that is now waking up, and you always want to be on the scent of these type of companies. I'm Chris Johnson with Money Morning. Make sure you like and subscribe. Do all the things to make certain you're here with us as we uncover these opportunities. Until next time, I wish you the best trading success. Have a great day.